But what about Metroid, I hear you ask? Samus doesn't have any friends. She's just a lone gun woman. Well, get ready to have your mind figuratively blown, because next week we break down the Metroid series and how it tells the story of Nintendo versus the entire gaming industry.
What if I told you that the reason why Metroid doesn't share the same message as all of the other of Nintendo's games is because it is the literal story of Nintendo fighting the game industry for the last 3 decades? Well, strap in, because we're going to cover those 10 core games in the Metroid franchise. So sorry, Metroid Prime Pinball, Metroid Prime Trilogy Pack, and Federation Force, you're going to be sitting this one out. Metroid. If you ever played the original Metroid from the Nintendo, then you know it told the story of Samus, the femme fatale bounty hunter versus space pirates who were trying to clone the Metroids as many times as humanly possible so they could use them to take over the galaxy. This is a direct parallel to Nintendo versus the gaming industry in the early 80s, as Nintendo was in a constant battle with real pirates who were successfully stealing their games and cloning them to take control of the gaming market. Metroid Zero Mission. Metroid Zero Mission was an enhanced remake, and its additional ending took place immediately following the original and had Samus stranded on a planet without her armor, fighting the same space pirates as she makes her way through the core of the planet, lost and alone. This is the story of Nintendo's tedious court battle with the same space pirates who were cloning their games. Nintendo felt stripped of their power armor, and being drugged through the tedious process of court made them feel like Samus running through the core of that planet with no one else there to help them. Metroid 2. In Metroid 2, the Galactic Federation deems the Metroids too dangerous to exist and wants them destroyed. While this does happen and almost all the Metroids are wiped out, Samus saves a baby Metroid from destruction at the end of the game. This parallels the US government after the gaming industry crash of 1983, and how Nintendo was one of the few companies that managed to survive it. The US government felt that the games were a fad, and because of this, you'd be hard-pressed to find any consumer or even store that was willing to carry video games, essentially destroying the gaming industry in the US. However, Nintendo saved their own baby Metroid from extinction, and his name was Mario. Super Metroid. In Super Metroid, space pirates are attempting to exploit and clone Metroids again, while Mother Brain, the overall villain of the entire Metroid franchise and controls the space pirates, keeps returning after it's destroyed in new forms. Mother Brain almost kills Samus, but she is saved by the baby Metroid, the same Metroid that she saved in the previous game. Not only is this a direct parallel, but this one gets really deep. After the revival of the gaming industry, Nintendo returns, and again is fighting the gaming industry attempting to clone their titles, which is now a standard gaming practice, and now has to fight gaming fans. That's right, Mother Brain is an analogy for you. You control the space pirates and the gaming industry, telling them that you want more of the same thing, buying those same $60 games, clones of the same games over and over again, which they provide you so that they can take over the industry. Nintendo, who has always tried to provide innovation, was nearly killed by the consumers, but was saved by its own titles that it held onto from the 80s. Super Mario. With the help of their very own personal Metroids, they were able to release games like Mario Kart, Mario Golf, Smash Bros., Mario World, Galaxy, etc., which prevented them from being destroyed. Metroid Fusion. Metroid Fusion tells the story of Samus fighting off a parasite and discovering a secret Federation Metroid breeding program which would make bigger, badder Metroids, forcing her to absorb the parasite to take on the greater threat of the new Metroids. This parallels Nintendo moving into the 5th gen console era, fighting the change initially, but being forced by Sega's 32X movement, and then absorbing the change and moving forward in order to take on the newer threats and stay relevant within the industry, the bigger threat being Nintendo's initial struggle to get 3D games up in the air. Metroid Prime. Sony is Dark Samus. Samus receives a distress signal about space pirates exploiting a powerful radioactive substance known as Phazon. After building a Phazon suit, it is taken from her by Metroid Prime, an ancient company feeding off this new power. At the end of the game, it is revealed that Metroid Prime had taken control of the suit and become Dark Samus. Metroid Prime is telling the story of Nintendo versus PlayStation. Sony originally teamed up with Nintendo to build the Nintendo PlayStation, which would use a radioactive substance known as polygons. At the end of it all, it was revealed that Sony had taken control of the console, naming it the Sony PlayStation, and becoming direct competition for Nintendo. Metroid Prime 2. Samus investigates the planet Aether to discover everyone is dead, killed off by the Ing that corrupts everything it comes into contact with, possessing them and transforming them into dark, monstrous versions of their former selves, going head-to-head with the Ing and Dark Samus for the final battle. Metroid Prime is telling you the story of the internet. Nintendo had discovered that everyone it grew up with, Sega, Magnavox, Coleco, that they're all dead, killed off by online play in the internet. That corrupts everything it comes into contact with, possessing and transforming them into dark, monstrous versions of themselves, a la the Xbox and the PlayStation. Nintendo would have to go head-to-head with online play and the PSX for the final battle of the 5th generation of gaming. Metroid Prime 3. Space pirates had infected the world with phazon seeds, corrupting everything in its path. Although Samus was able to destroy both Dark Samus and the phazon problem, it was clear at the end that Samus hadn't completely removed the problem. This told the story of the newer, bigger, badder gaming industry and how it had spread 1080p graphics throughout all the consoles, not unlike an infection. Although the Nintendo was able to destroy both PlayStation and New Age graphics and come out on top in Q2 in 2013, it was very clear that it was by the skin of their teeth and that Sony and the bigger, badder gaming industry was going to be a recurring problem. Metroid Prime Hunters. Samus is called to a planet where 6 rival bounty hunters show up, and they must put aside their differences and team up to take on a new foe, Goria, who was siphoning up all of their powers. They were able to survive at the end, but only just. This was the start of Nintendo's Team Up, where 6 former rivals would team up and provide exclusives for the Nintendo GameCube and Wii in order to take on the new threat of Microsoft's Xbox, who was systematically siphoning all of their IPs like Rare's Donkey Kong and Sega's Sonic the Hedgehog. By pulling together, they were able to survive the 6th generation of consoles, but only just. Metroid Other M. Samus heads to a ship where they are developing illegal bioweapons made from the Metroids. Samus finds an artificial intelligence that is attempting to recreate the relationship she had with the Metroid from the first game, which they would have succeeded if it weren't for Samus's team showing up at the last second to save her. Metroid Other M is the most recent in Nintendo's story and describes how the industry is developing technology based off Nintendo's relationship with their own IPs, i.e. Activision developing Skylanders based off the Spyro IP, and both Sony and Microsoft making motion sensing devices based on Nintendo's own success with the Wii. They would have also succeeded if it weren't for Nintendo's own team of IPs coming back with better content a la Mario Kart Wii, Super Smash Bros. Melee, and the Mario Party series. And there you have it. All of the Metroid games in order tell the story of Nintendo growing up through the 80s and combating the game industry, just as Samus fought the space pirates, who were being controlled by Mother Brain, who is just an analogy for the gamers that give the industry the power that they have. And all the way to Sony becoming Nintendo's own dark analog. It's clear what story Nintendo wants to tell, and it's their own. But that's just a theory. A game theory! For real though, I would love to do more videos like this. Matt Pat, call me.
Thanks guys for watching my video. If you liked what you heard, make sure you comment, subscribe, and share.